Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to spot a dismissive avoidant attachment style individual on the first date. So this is a really great tool, not because we should look at like what somebody's attachment style is and then necessarily decide if that's somebody we date or not date just based on their attachment style. I've always said that I think one of the most important things we can look for is, are both parties interested in investing in a situation and doing the work around it? Because if that's the case, attachment style doesn't really have to play that big of a role in our relationship in terms of whether it works or not. It just plays a role in our relationship in terms of what patterns we should be aware of, and then what tools we can apply to overcoming those different pain points or patterns so that we can have harmony and loving and lasting relationships. So hopefully this video will help you out with some of that. First and foremost, one of the biggest things you'll see about DAs is sometimes they have a little bit of difficulty staying present on a first date. They may struggle to make eye contact for long periods of time. They may be checking their phone often. They may be looking around while you're talking sometimes. And this is usually because their subconscious personality need system doesn't always have like romantic relationships, emotional connection, these sorts of like human connection needs very high at the top of the list. And usually whenever we consciously do something, but our subconscious doesn't have really high needs there and see like tremendous value in doing that thing, then we'll sort of have this like interesting friction that occurs between our conscious mind trying to focus on something and our subconscious mind trying to pull us in a different direction. One of the best analogies I have for this is some of my personality needs are like emotional connection, teaching, personal growth. Like it's all things related to what I'm doing. So it's very easy for me to stay present for long periods of time. But if you can imagine somebody like myself, and then you take me and you put me into a role where I'm an accountant, while that can be an amazing job, for me, it would be really difficult to stay present, right? My subconscious would want to like talk to everybody in the office and learn about their attachment style and learn about them and talk about patterns of human behavior and, all these different things. And so while my conscious mind sets the intention to do something, the subconscious pulls us in a different direction. And this can happen to a certain degree for DAs. There can be DAs who have a high need for emotional connection, social connection, romantic relationships, these sorts of things, but they tend to just value different things a lot of the time. And they tend to prioritize at a subconscious level different things based on their own programming. So sometimes you'll see that dynamic where it's like they're present, but they're kind of distracted by other things that they're trying to achieve simultaneously because their subconscious mind may be pulling them in a different direction. This does not mean that they don't have needs for connection at all. It just means that it's not as high priority, which means their attention is likely to be more split or scattered on a more frequent basis. So you may see some of that early on into dating. You will also see that they tend to be not necessarily very agreeable. Like they'll sort of state their opinions. They may not ask you a lot of personal questions or really even like put a lot of effort into asking a ton of things to try to deeply know about you. They can, and you'll see this more in like the early dating stage for DAs, but how to sort of spot one of the differences between, is this person just like interested in dating me and they're making an effort versus are they DA and is it this part of their programming or is this part of like the effort they're currently making? Is you'll see that DAs won't ask a lot of feeling-based questions. They may ask about your experiences, what you do, what you like, dislike, but they won't really talk about like, what are your fears? What are the deeper things that make you tick? They won't really take the emotional component into consideration a lot because they are not usually spending a lot of time there. A lot of DAs have disconnected from their emotions, repressed their emotions as a subconscious strategy to not have to feel vulnerable or afraid or helpless or unsafe. And so they spend a lot of time living in like the intellectual faculties of their mind. And so to take them and then put them in like the emotional components of their mind and to get them to start talking about that and asking questions and initiating those sorts of things, not only is that not usually part of their programming, but they also usually don't have a lot of experience from caregivers because they didn't usually get a lot of modeling in that area. So it's sort of foreign territory. So that'll be a huge way of sort of telling if somebody's DA or not. And the inverse of that is also true. Like, I don't know if the inverse is the right word, but that's how they show up as well. So if you ask them about their experiences with dating, or their experiences with life or childhood, they tend to tell you the facts about the experience much more so than like how they felt about the experience itself. So you'll see a lot of like, in childhood, I did this and then I did this and I went to the park and then I left the park and I went home. And you may see more emotionally available attachment styles say things like, I went to the park, I had a lot of fun, I really enjoyed myself, I felt happy. Then I went home, and when I got home, I was disappointed to have to leave the park. Like, it's just a silly example, but you can really see there like the illustration of how somebody is sharing their inner world with you and what that inner world is sort of looking like. So that will be a big thing. Another huge thing that you'll see is DAs tend to be fantastic with boundaries, really great on the first date. If they feel like going home, they'll say it's time for me to go home. If they feel like texting, they'll text. If they don't feel like texting, they won't text. They're very good with like, I do what I feel from my perspective. And they'll be very like, pulled away from people pleasing. And they're not as in touch with like what they should be doing for dating etiquette. Doesn't mean they can't be great on a first date and really charming and charismatic and all these great things, but they will be really blunt and straight to the point a lot of the time with a boundary or a need that they have. You may find that there's a lack of attunement at times. They may make you feel like you're kind of trying to get their attention, gather their attention, reel them in to get them to pay attention and stay present. And this can be something that triggers the attachment style of other insecurely attached individuals and gets them into people pleasing mode quite a bit more. And you'll also find Ds tend to like undershare rather than overshare, you sort of keep things efficient, succinct, this sort of thing. And after a date, they will follow up if they're interested. But a lot of DAs, they don't see this need to like push things along very quickly. They tend to be quite comfortable in their own programming, their own like relationship to themselves. They're not really trying to get many voids filled from the external world with their relationships. So they'll tend to take their time. And again, like this can be triggering for people who are insecurely attached, who have different subconscious expectations about how quickly the needle will move. And this can sort of be something that creates these different pain points. And by the way, if you want to do a deep dive into like all of the patterns of a dismissive avoidant in the dating stage in general, and we talk about in the course, like texting, how often someone will text, what the expectations are, how to deal with like triggering when that's taking place, some of the different patterns you'll see overall, pain points to be aware of, how to reprogram those pain points. If you are the DA or if you're the person in a relationship to a DA, you can check out our Advanced Dismissive Avoidant Attachment Style course. And you can check it out for free. We have a 7-day free trial. You can print everything off. You can go through the course. You can check everything out and just like get really integrated with the roadmap of like how a dismissive avoidant shows up. So you can check that out. And we go through all the 6 different stages. We talk about the honeymoon stage, the power struggle stage, the stability stage, some of the way they feel about these different stages, what will come up for them, what you should be aware of, how you can reprogram pain points, all that different stuff. And you can click the link below in the description, and it will take you to the 7-day free trial where you can, when you enter, search up the Advanced Dismissive Avoidant Attachment Style course. We have them for all the different attachment styles as well. So next thing you should know is when they leave a first date, they'll probably respond on their own time, right? So, and a dismissive avoidant, if they went on a date, they may be like, oh, I had a great time and I can't wait to see this person again. I definitely want to see them again. And they'll text them in like 2 or 3 days and they won't think twice about that. The speed at which they're ready to move doesn't necessarily reflect the degree of interest they have in a person. And that's what can be really challenging and sort of confusing from the other end. And one other thing that you'll see is if you give DAs too many compliments too quickly, or you move too quickly, you'll feel almost immediately that they pull back. And you'll see very clearly that they tend to move at a pace that's very suitable for them and their needs and where they're at. And anything that pushes on it too much, pressuring, anything like that, they'll tend to sort of close down and take a step back. It doesn't mean they're not interested or you lost interest in that immediate moment, but you'll be able to feel a shift in that experience. Ultimately, if you're on the receiving end of it, just with anything else, any attachment style, any individual, you want to make sure that you're taking the time to consider yourself and to make sure that you're like, okay, is this person willing to put the effort in that I'm willing to put in? And that's going to be an important part of moving the needle and being, in a healthy relationship. And sometimes DAs may be more slow at moving, but they will still put in that effort and you'll see it, especially when you communicate your needs and talk about those different things. And so those are really important distinguishing factors to be aware of. So that's it for today. Let me know any other questions you have about dating and dismissive avoidance and anything that you want to see. I would love to hear, and I, enjoy making these fun videos. So keep me posted in the comments below. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.